And so where many of us have used flowable composites for years, there's a different type of composite nowadays that one might say is the same, but it's not. An injectable composite is uniquely different than a flowable composite. The same as a digital X-ray is different than a traditional film X-ray. Okay. So these injectable composites, things like the GenioFlow X, which is a more viscous, more runny material. You'll notice by the lower left side, it shows an image of it kind of being more runny. So when you have small little preparation designs or areas you want this to get into easily with minimal manipulation, this might be a go-to. And it has really great opacity, really great strength properties, but it's used for these tiny little areas or as a liner or a small occlusal load-bearing restoration, or maybe even interproximal in some small class 2s that have minimal load-bearing. From there, though, if we want something that has a little more durability, you could say, maybe it doesn't run as easy, it has a little more filler in it, so it still has great properties as far as its flowability and its appearance, but it actually has better strength. Now you start looking at the universal flow. And so they have different levels of viscosities, which also derive different strength properties, as we'll see, that are uniquely different that flowables haven't had in the past. What's interesting is you start looking at wear rates. Wear rates, like you'll notice here, the wear rates of the universal injectable being quite comparable, if not better, than something like Filtek Supreme Ultra, which many of us use and is a great product. And you go, wow, this little flowable is actually doing better than a traditional composite. Same thing with discoloration. You'll notice it has significantly less discoloration compared to some of the traditional composites we use. And then you'll also notice the polish capabilities are actually better than many of the materials we use currently as well. And that's just a matter of technology and continue to change. So here we have a failing amalgam. And so we do our preparation design, take out just the problem, and leave the rest of the tooth alone. We'll put on our sectional ring or matrix, whatever type you like implementing. And then, if you're a total etcher or a selective etcher, be my guest, followed by your bonding agent technique. And once that's cured and properly followed, the manufacturer's protocols, we then go into basically saying, all right, we usually put down a flowable. Most of us put down a flowable, and you still can. But potentially you have a flowable that has better strength properties. Okay? Now, do you need strength properties as a liner? Not necessarily, but it's a nice thing to have. And then after you've injected this as maybe just a simple liner, you can still do your traditional technique of putting a composite on top of it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Based on the size of a defect, we could potentially fill this whole tooth with an injectable composite. Where in the past, if I said, hey, use a flowable, you'd be like, no, flowable's not going to work there. And I would say, yeah, you're right. But the technology inside these new injectables is different. And so again, what they've done with these is they changed the filler particle and how they've loaded the filler particle. And as they continue to make strides in the machining of the different products that go into resins, they've been able to create better filler particles and better silanes, better chemistries that give us, unique properties that we just couldn't derive with technology in the past. Now, I had mentioned 2 of these already, and you notice on this this little layout, it shows you that basically up to 2 millimeters, you can bulk fill either one of these. But once it gets larger than that, you probably want to move to another product, which they have their bulk injectable, where you can go up to 4 millimeters with an injectable composite, right? So it's interesting how we can manipulate these different ones in different type of restorations based on the needs we have, based on our preparation design.